not loud enough or too loud. So this is the reporting on competence and ease. This is a spreadsheet that was developed. Oh, let me do introduction. Sorry. My name is Ross Babbitt. I'm a budget analyst for the Research Administration Service Center and the Vice Chancellor for Research. And I also have Yana Bidlin, who is Research Administration Manager for the Service Center under the VCR, and Tanya Watkins, who's the Director for Finance and Administration for the VCR as well. So they're going to help answer questions and jump in when needed. So the objective of this is to go over different Excel tools and ideas that we use in our spreadsheet to assist you in reporting to researchers their budgets, their finances. The goals are to reduce errors by reduce errors by reducing manual entries, by using formulas and different other techniques that you can use in a spreadsheet. Also to increase transparency for researchers and provide clear, concise financial information for researchers to make decisions, giving them one snapshot of their projects, and reduce financial questions from researchers. Of course, you're never going to eliminate financial questions from researchers, but hopefully they can start answering themselves with the information you provide them. So a little bit of the history. I'll actually let Tanya speak on this.
Okay, so like Ross, I don't particularly care for mics, but a little bit of the history about the templates that we use. We created a service center about a year ago, and we recognized with combining centers and institutes under one organization, they needed to use a consistent format for reporting. So part of the reason it came about, we searched around campus and tried to identify several different methods for reporting, and we honed in on this one from Ryan Terrell that some of our units had used previously and others on campus, and since then we've modified it over time. So that's the template that our service center uses to provide reporting for both non-sponsored funds and OSR funds.
So the tools that we're going to go over today are the reporting structure of our report that we use, the reporting content within that overall structure, the different formulas used in that spreadsheet, and some other Excel tools like conditional formatting and data validation. And feel free throughout this presentation to ask me questions, because we want you to ask questions as you're thinking about them, and so we can get those answers to you. So the summary, the reporting structure is comprised of different areas. So we have a summary page, which is the main place where the researcher goes. And then if they want to drill down into more of the details of that summary page, we provide them with personnel forecasting, non-personnel forecasting, and budget forecasting. And that's all of our forecasts. And then we also provide them with details of transactions that have posted through the info for transactions. And then we also give them a SubContract tab. So any SubContract related to that main project ID. In the summary page, it's then linked on the SubContract page with detailed information. So in the reporting contents, the summary page has key facts, dates, and information for researchers. So they can see their name, which hopefully they know it, project ID, their title, project start date, the budget start and end date, things that they may need for their project that are just generic information. And then the main content, what they're really looking at in the summary page are the expenses, right? They want to know their financial position. So we show them direct and indirect costs and then subcontracts in the budget and expense rows. And then in the columns for each direct, indirect, and subcontract expense, we give them the current budget, any pending budget, which is expected carry forward, an NCE that we're expecting, anything future budget that we're expecting that is coming but hasn't been loaded in InfoPort. Then we have period expenses, which are any expenses that have fallen within this reconciling period. So that's the period in which we reconcile. So they will see any expenses within that period. And then total expenses like today. So they can see what's my total expenses, what's my expenses for this month. And then, oops, there's also the all forecast tab. So they can see any non-personnel forecasting that we're expecting in the summary, the personnel forecasting we're expecting. And then lastly, what they always want to see is their unobligated balance. So that's their main goal. So that's why we actually on our report have it highlighted for them to see. So when we're looking at the actual personnel forecasts tab, it is broken out by future forecasts and retroactive forecasts. Okay, great. I have it right now. So I'm going to flip back and forth from these slides. So we let them know up top are your current projections. These are things that will happen in future periods so that they can see that. And we also break it down under here for retroactive adjustments so that they can see what departments aren't doing salary actions or what salary actions are pending for periods that have already posted. Kind of letting them know, a lot of guys want to know, is their home department processing actions? Do they need to follow up and get involved? So they can see that under the retroactive adjustments there. We have editable fields. So a lot of these are all forecasted. So any editable fields are the ones that are in black text, so that we know when we're entering our stuff, these are the fields we need to change. Everything else is going to be self-calculated. And then that's the pay cycle. So they'll put in, oh, it's not even there. It should be a field here for biweekly or monthly. Total salary, which will be their total cap salary, and then their institutional base. We distinguish the two because, as you all know, salary cap has some effort variances. We have a start and end date for the projection so that they can see the different changes. So if you look at this biostatistician, they are changing their effort throughout the project. And then also FTE. So you can see on this biostatistician again that their effort is increasing and then decreasing. Oh no, consistently increasing, excuse me. So you can play around with their effort and make accurate projections as their effort changes throughout the project. And then the calculated fields within this are the project rate, which is the amount annually that we'll charge to the project based on the projections that you've entered. The biweekly monthly rate, which is either the biweekly or monthly rate that we'll post. We use that field when we're reconciling so that we can match whether or not that employee's monthly pay posted accurately or biweekly pay posted accurately. And then we have forecast salary, which shows the entire forecast of that projected time period. So for this research assistant, the projected forecast salary is the full amount of salary that we'll post between that date. And then forecast fringe is obviously the same thing, but with fringes, and then we have a total. And so then on our non-personnel forecast tab, we have detailed information of each expected transaction for non-personnel. So the most important dates that we really require to fill out for researchers are the date, the account, the amount, and the description. The other ones are great if they're in there, but everything else isn't necessary. But we have to have those in there so that we'll feed into the summary. But that lets researchers know a little bit about each transaction that's going to post to that voucher. And then on budget forecast, same concept, just with pending budget. So we have no cost extensions, carry forward expected, and things like that. So again, we have the date, the account, the amount. And as you see here, this is expected year 2 salaries. This is a budget transfer, budget revision that we're expecting to be processed but hasn't processed yet. And then in our input port transactions, shows actual input port transactions. So it is a straight download from input port for the time period that we're reconciling. So we upload them all the transactions like to date, and then every month we download the transactions from input port, download them into here, We have to remove cost share. Right now, I haven't developed a formula to remove it automatically, but it's in process. And all of this is then transferred to the summary page. Then lastly, we have the subcontract tab. And of course, if there's multiple subcontracts, we will show multiple subcontract tabs. So each subcontract has their own tab. So if they want to know about the NC State contract but don't really care about the Duke contract, great. They can just look at the NC State contract. So it lists the project ID, the subcontractor, and then each invoice. So they can see a list of every invoice, the time period of that invoice, and the amount. And then it lists a, how do you say this, but a cumulative balance and a reduction of the current balance up to the last most recent. So on our summary page, this is going to get a little technical, so feel free to ask questions. This is about those formulas that we use on our summary page. So our indirects, we have a option here. So we have an option for research administrators to either enter total direct costs or modify total direct costs so that it will automatically calculate whether or not equipment tuition is excluded. So instead of them having to do that manual calculation of removing tuition, equipment, all those other rare exclusions, they can just select total direct costs or modify total direct costs. And then it will automatically remove those account numbers that are not included. The current budget, and through that we use an if statement. So feel free to ask questions about if statements. What it does is it is a logical formula to say if we're looking at modified total direct costs, and that's the option that's chosen, we need to then only look at these account numbers. So we're using if statements to allow that manual entry to be removed and let Excel do the work for us. The current budget is another if statement. So it pulls anything from the info port transactions page through an if statement if that ledger is OSR budget. So it reads that ledger column in the info port transactions and pulls the budget out. The pending budget is pulling it out from the budget forecast tab. So if you look at here, the pending budget will only pull into each row based on the account numbers. So it will pull in exactly into the line in which that budget should be living. And period expenses is the same concept, but we also use the date range of the reconciling period. So on that summary page, we have a start date and end date for reconciling period 0, reconciling July. It's only going to be 7/1 to 7/31. And it will graph all expenses from info port transactions into that using if statements, saying if this transaction has an accounting date in between 7/1 and 7/31, put it into that period expense. And then lastly, expenses like today, if it's an OSR expense, which now is actually actuals because they just changed that, so I probably should have updated this, but if it's in that actuals ledger, we go straight into the by today expense. And then in the summary formula for forecasts, we pull it straight from the personnel tab. So it's just a straight equals that number. That way it's pretty straightforward. And of course, you all know what unobligated balance, or if you don't, it is current budget plus the pending budget, less forecasts and expenses, and subcontracting equal, oh no, not equal. And then it equals your unobligated balance. Subcontracts, the formula for available balance is direct total from the subcontract tab. Pretty straightforward in that summary page. It's just pulling that data from the subcontract. So this is this is the formulas that are a little more tricky, the personnel forecasts. So the project rate is the annual amount charged to the project for the full 12 months, which equals the total FTE that you have times the total salary. So it's not going to give you the total amount that's going to be charged to the project because you're looking at a period. It's going to give you the total amount that would be charged if it was a 12-month. The biweekly monthly rate is an if statement to determine whether or not it's biweekly or monthly using that period column that unfortunately is not in there. And if it's biweekly, it's the project rate divided by hours at 1.0 FTE. So sometimes that fluctuates with the NC system, so it could be 2088 to 20, sometimes it's 2096, but in general it's 2080. And then of course monthly is the project rate divided by 12. For forecasted salary, it equals the project rate times the amount of days forecasted. So if we look back at this, so it's using this, timesing it by the number of days in there. So you're looking at just that time period. Okay, so we use an if statement to determine if it's biweekly or monthly, and then we use 360 for monthly to make sure we have an even number of monthly payments. Use 365 and can't divide that by 12, and then we use 365 for biweekly. And so for the amount of days forecasted, we use the start and end date of that period, and we use days for biweekly. And actually, I've just edited this recently, so we actually use the formula working days, which is a formula that just found out. So it only calculates 10 days out of a 14-day period, because as you all know, for biweekly, we don't calculate on a 14-day basis, we calculate on a 10-day basis. So that formula is not actually days, it's called working days. And then for monthly, people use the formula days 360. So I'm not going to go into all of the details of the fringes because those formulas are really, really intense. So, but if you have any questions about these, we can go over them. The main forecasting fringes is a summary of all of these fringes put together. And in our personnel forecast tab, we have a fringe benefits rate table. So all of those formulas reference this fringe benefits table that we maintain and update based on the memo that owns our. And then lastly, the subcontract formulas is a project balance as each invoice. It's just the last invoice balance minus the current invoice equals the new invoice. And it's just a recurring formula for each cell. So in addition to formulas, we also use conditional formatting. So we draw the user's attention, research administrators' attention towards any particular cell that needs an entry. So any data entry that they have to do that requires either a date or a specific cell, specific value that is not entered, the formulas won't work. We have conditional formatting that will, for this instance, for this example down here, it highlights red when they don't have an entry. So for this conditional formatting example, if there's an amount, we have a conditional format that automatically highlights the cell red if the account is white. When the account's filled in correctly and the amount is entered correctly, then it will populate into the summary page. If not, it won't populate the summary page. That's why we want to let research administrators know that you need to have that cell filled. Other areas we use this for when the direct balance cell turns red when the balance is less than 0, so that it brings the researchers' attention to that unobligated balance at the bottom. And just for some report formatting, we use it for FT text to be white when it's 0, or black when it's greater than 0, or not 0, excuse me, so that people aren't seeing this random percent there, 0%, and wondering what it's about. It just makes it look pretty. So you can use it for you can use conditional formatting not only for to prevent errors, but also to make your spreadsheet look better. Another thing that we use is data validation, where we have pop-ups when people enter wrong information. So when one of our research administrators go into enter a value into a cell that requires a date, and they enter it as a decimal or something, then we have a pop-up that says cell must contain a date. Cannot have, or whatever message you want with data validation. That's how we use data validation, so that people aren't entering decimals and text where a date value should be, or text where a number value should be. So that's how we use that. We use it in modified or direct costing. They have to choose one or the other. They cannot choose whatever they want to. They can't say, I want to choose, I don't know, unicorns and put it there. They have to actually choose modified direct cost or direct cost. It also, data validation allows the users to choose a list. So you can set up a list through data validation where, for instance, in employee types, go back to the personnel. In employee types, they only have the option to choose EHRA, SHRA, temp, student temp, postdoc. They don't have all options. Like they can't enter text, whatever they want to, like unicorns again. They have to enter the actual employee type. And that data validation prevents them from entering anything that shouldn't be. I'm really quick. So feel free to ask lots of questions. I didn't know I was going so fast. So right now with the spreadsheet, we're also working on pending additions to the spreadsheet, such as burn rate as of the date of the report, so that researchers can see at this time that you've reconciled, how fast am I spending my project? Am I on track? Am I at 100% spending for this time period? Or am I too slow or too fast? We're also looking to add is this carry forward greater than the 25% threshold for NIH? Do I need to request do I need to provide justification for that carry forward? Developing some type of formula so that it will let the researchers know, yes, I need to go ahead and start preparing for that justification, or no, I'm under that 25% threshold. We're also going to hopefully add a section for cost share so that it's no longer needed to be excluded, but it's still shown on the report. Right now we have to exclude it. And lastly, probably the biggest thing from the last session that we did at the OSR Symposium to this session is we are currently working on an effort within the OVCR's office and OSR to make this report available to campus-wide through OSR with trainings, and allow OSR to make those updates instead of us having to do trainings and make updates to campus. Because right now it's like just me, and I can't do that for all of campus. So surprisingly, I'm done talking. Is there any questions? Yes.
So this is fantastic.
Good, I think so too.
I would love to have this right now. So I'm in college.
Okay.
And so what is going to be the timeline and process for it to be made available for our use?
I don't know. Okay. We are meeting about it in November. So hopefully soon.
Within this fiscal year, maybe?
I would think so. We just have to transfer knowledge information spreadsheets to OSR, and then they would be supporting the training and other efforts. I would think this fiscal year.
It's a really new thing. They just reached out to us.
Will there be I don't know if you're locking down everything or will you be paper and the bill and tailor it slightly.
I don't know. Right now it's open, but that's because it's only limited to a few users within the Research Administration Service Center. I'm imagining if it's opened up to a larger campus, that it will have a few more restrictions.
Just imagine, so we have the prime and then have 30 cells, like a SubContract.
Yeah.
It would be wonderful to build a structure like this that would sort of pull the data and do exactly what you get for a larger grant structure.
Sure. You could probably work with OSR for modified template when that is available. Yeah.
I'm a part of the NPO Service Center, and we have a department is being able to make these updated spreadsheets and stay on that. Does it?
And lots of all
Or of PIs that coordinators are in control of that wants every project that all these PIs have. I mean, I have projects that have over 17 projects. I work that every month. Is there any way that you guys are going to be able to figure out if you can project summaries to stay on master budget?
Thinking about it, we don't have that now, but there could be something that we could work out with OSR where they could be linked.
Are you asking about budget to actuals or alone or inclusive of forecast?
But budget to actual throughout the budget year and sometimes the entire project. It all depends on what the coordinator does. But the issue is the maximum amount of project. We will see that one. And if we miss, I was having to bring to a meeting about 70 issues of paper. And I have to go through it one by one.
There's nothing right now.
Yeah, I think that's how Ryan originally managed everything in one, and it had a different display. We do something a little different that's budget to actuals without any forecasting. The template looks similar to this, but it looks across all funding sources or fund types. It sounds like kind of what you need, but for projects. So, yeah.
We'd be able to distinguish all the different kinds
Right. We can share with OSR that template too. Yeah.
This one's easy.
It's from data warehouse.
Oh, but are you looking for something with forecasting to include all 70 projects, including forecasting, which is, yeah, okay.
We have to develop our own spreadsheet. And lately we've been doing bit try these and other needs. So for our coordinators and guys for the question. So we have to develop our own spreadsheet. But we still we just don't report it directly.
Okay, I think it's doable. It's not something that I've created, but I think we could talk to OSR in this transition to create something like that. It may not be rolled out right when the this report is rolled out, but it can be phase update or something. It probably would require some manual entry.
Yeah, that's currently what we do now. Do almost everything entirely manual free transactions to go forward. We roll up some rates. But of course, we're going to update.
Okay. I'll look into it. For the imports, we use the transactions tab. So on that transactions tab, we select OSR, expense, and budget. We pull everything from that. We don't want encumbrances because we've already done those ourselves in the forecast. So on both personnel and non-personnel, we've already covered those. So we leave out the OSR pre and then we, for the start of the project, we'll fill in all import transactions to the month we're reconciling. And then each month we reconcile, we pull those transactions just down. No, that's from, it's a combination. It takes from current EPARs and information we receive for projects, any future changes that project can make us aware of, current budget templates, we have those. It's really just a combination of many different information sources. It's definitely not input work or Connect Carolina solely. Because as you all know, Connect Carolina Living Board doesn't have future changes, it only has current. So this report allows us to have personnel where a PI is going to go up to 25% and then back down to 15 and then up to 20 because they change their effort every month. It allows us to make those changes. So, versus Living Board, it just has it at 25% and then it's now for the rest of the project. Any other questions? Yeah. It may go back to the summary page. It covers one project, including subcontracts. So if there's a project that has 15 subcontracts, there would just be a tab for each subcontract, but the prime project would be on that summary page. Not.
Choose source or program code or cost code. You need two separate.
You mean separate sponsored OSR funds? Non. We don't have that now, but we do have non-sponsored reporting that separates out program codes. So if you wanted to budget out your program codes in one, say you have one gift trust and you have 50 program codes, there is a template that we have now that will have your non-program coded budget and then your program coded budget on different tabs. And we're working on getting that to summarize into one total gift trust. Right now it's broken out like that. We don't have one that envelops, like if you're doing cost codes or a program code across multiple sources. Yeah. Yes, yeah, that will be included in the efforts of those. And it's we have 3 different templates right now that we use. One for sponsored funds, one for non-sponsored, and one for state only, because state has different bridges that are applicable and not cover principles. So we have 3 different templates. It will roll out with that effort. Doesn't have cash balance. To my knowledge, I don't.
I mean, you have to run it from it.
Yeah, it would work through Connect Carolina. And we don't use Connect Carolina for data entry. Any other questions? Not,
Or even on a trial basis.
not right now, just because I'm the only person managing it. If you have questions, I just don't have the bandwidth to answer questions from everybody right now. So until we get that effort with OSR, where they actually have people in place to do trainings and updates and everything, we're but I promise you we're going to work on getting out. So we had positive feedback in the OSR symposium and everybody wanted it. So we're definitely going to work on getting it out. I promise. Any other questions? Okay, thank you guys. Sorry I was so quick in talking. If you have any questions for me aside, feel free to come up and ask. Thank you.